Okay. Then we can start. Hello, welcome to the next EESSI Happy Hour. My name is Thomas Röpplitz. I also work at the University of Bergen. Richard is not here today, so I'm stepping in for him. So as you may know, this topic of the series is environment variables to tweak the EESSI initialization. And the current session is about controlling EESSI startup behavior. I will let you know more about what this is about. Okay, a few updates before we start into the topic. So last week we had organized a hackathon just one day after the EuroHPC user days, and the topic of the hackathon was CI/CD using EESSI, and I think it was a quite successful event. We had about 13 participants on site in Copenhagen and almost 20 participants online. And it was a full day event with some introduction into EESSI and EESSI Build, then some introduction also to CI/CD, what we mean when we about this when we use EESSI. And then it was an in-depth demo of how this can work, how to use it, how to set it up, how to write an EESSI config to be used, and so on. And then after that demo, participants had the chance to try this out themselves. And we had, I think, 3 different topics or cases. One, they could just follow what was presented in the demo, just following all the steps. Another one was to try out this for one of their own packages, but basically using the recipes, the EESSI config that was used in the demo. And then they could, the third one was just that they could try this for whatever they want, what they use in building software. Another quick update is... Yep, please.
Well, the slide for the session are available on the EESSI docs and EESSI documentation. There's a page for the hackathon. We still need to look into the recording, but the Wi-Fi was a bit unstable, so we're not quite sure if we'll have a decent recording of the session.
Okay,
but we'll try.
Thanks.
What we will do is also write up a blog post that has some details and maybe some highlighted slides with content and stuff. But I'm working on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. A little update about the number of software packages currently available either, and so we are getting closer to 600 packages. And now about the topic of this session. There's this link, and maybe I can go to that and see if that works. Okay, that's in a different window. Maybe we can just pull it in here. So here you find information about how to set up the EESSI environment. And so that is based on that you already have access to CERN VMFS, or the contents of the EESSI repository, but then you want to configure your environment. And I don't want to use that page here. I just want to use the slides. And so basically you can have 3 scenarios. One is you just got a new machine, could be a VM, could be a laptop or so. And then what you can do is you can simply source one init script with the command that is shown in the first line, and then you get access to it. And I can demo how this looks like. The next scenario is that you have maybe not LMOD installed on your system, but you still want to use modules. And then what you can do is you can source another script. And what this is doing, it's basically first initializing LMOD and then loading a default module. And that is an EESSI module. And by this, you initialize EESSI. And then the last example is that you already have Elmod available in your system and you still want to use then, of course, a module. And here you need to, we recommend that you use 3 commands. First, that you clear the module path that is possibly already set. Then you tell Elmod where to find the easy module, and then you load the easy module. Although in the first 2 lines we showed examples with bash, in the second line there we also show bash, but there you could actually also use this with other shells like C shell, fish, corn shell, and Z shell. And the last example works as independent of the shell, so should work with all the other shells too, not only with bash. Okay, and then, so now there's a long list depending on these scenarios, what environment variables are found and in which scenario they are supported. Yeah. And they are all listed on these 2 slides. So of course they will be available after the session. And what I want to do is that I just go through some of these and demonstrate how this works. Yeah. Of course, I don't want to do all these examples. But once you see how I do this, you can, of course, also try this yourself. Okay, let me try. I think, okay, so let me go to this example. So here I'm on a node where I don't have module command available, so I can't load the module. So what I can do here is I can source the init script. And I want to do this first without the Elmod example. And so what this is maybe what you know, yeah. So it detects what architecture you have and then sets up the environment so that you can find modules that are available. You can see, you know, this list, and yeah, you then can of course load the modules and use them. What you could also do is, let me go to different shell here. So again, here module is not available. So what you have seen, there were quite a bit of output, and maybe if you don't want this, just demonstrate what you could do is you could set another environment variable here before you have the source command, and then source the init script. Okay. And what you will see is that there's much less output. Yeah, so that's one example. So let me just jump out here. So there's a disadvantage of this method. If you want to unset this, or there's no command for this, so then we just have to log out and log in again. And so I will show you the second method, and that is the one with the where I want to use an Elmod, but we don't have Elmod available on this node, right? So what we can do then is to just source. Yeah, okay, let me go and add this to the end. I just add this here, Elmod, then it should use now a different approach. So now here you see not much output, so that's a bit different when you use that method. Also, the prompt is a little bit different there. The easy is, and the version is not shown at the beginning. So maybe I can show this here. So here what you see is that the easy and the version is shown in the beginning. Going back to that, so what if we would want to get more output, we can use another environment variable for this. Something like this. Okay. So let's see what works. Oh, no, that was not correct. Just maybe, I guess. So yeah, I have to log out again.
You could have just
Yes.
reloaded the module, Thomas.
Yeah.
That would have worked. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. Okay, good. Something like that. Okay, so what you see now is that you get, again, more output. It's not exactly the same as what you get when you just source the script without lmod, without initializing lmod, and then loading the module, but you get similar output. Yeah, so what CPUs are detected, what is available, if there's an accelerator detected, and what settings are used to initialize this. Now, what I want to show is maybe something in addition. Let me see, I have to go to another machine. So on this machine, we have some GPUs. No. So there's some GPU on this machine. So what we could do is we could maybe try one of these. So for example, we could try this here, right? Sorry, that was not what I wanted. Let me say. So we could, for example, override what accelerator is found. But first, let's try to see what happens when we initialize this here. Yeah, so if I do this again, then okay, it identifies the CPU as Haswell and it finds compute capability 89, but we don't have that directly supported, so we're falling back to CC 80. And then I can show what I have available in terms of CUDA, for example. Yeah. So what I could do now is let's have to log out again here. Remember what the name is, accelerated target override. So in principle, what I could do, we'll see that will, but maybe it's not so useful. This, I could say something like this, right? And then I can again source the init script, and what you see now is again I find that Haswell was detected, but then what it uses, it doesn't really detect the GPU. It just takes what I supply as information, and then of course you will have all the software available also here because we built this for all different combinations of CPU architecture and compute capabilities, but it will not work. So if I go here into an example, just tried this before, Scromex, load this Scromex module and run this example, then it will not work because so now this fix. Yeah, okay, so here there's it sort of works a bit, but not maybe fully, so there's an error. Yeah, and of course
It will actually run CPU. Yeah.
Yeah, but you see that there's some problems. So that's of course not what you should do. Yeah, but in principle you could do this. And yeah, so I just stop this here. maybe I go and check. So if there's any other interesting variable we could try, maybe. So what you see is a bit the support for different variables is not always the same for all these different initialization methods. So as well as depending on that, you can maybe decide which method you use. Okay.
To some extent, this is something we can fix as well, right? I mean, some like easy module ones don't make sense if you're not using modules.
Yeah, exactly.
But the arch detect options one could actually always be taken into account.
Yeah.
Work for us, but
okay, I think that was all what I wanted to show. So I think you can easily play with all these options and see how they work.
Can you go one slide back?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the last one here on the list, this one controls which CPU path you'll take for the GPU software installations, and that could be an interesting one to play with. Let's say using less optimal CPU binaries while using optimal CUDA installations,
Yeah.
and see what kind of performance in that.
Yeah, let me try this one. So here I'm on I think that's actually hardware-wise, it's a Sapphire Rabbit, but it identifies as Haswell. So what I could try is instead of using Sapphire Rabbit for this, because I think it is a Sapphire Rabbit, I could maybe just use the generic part. So what I would do is I would write something like is access software sub override to the main of this software sub over. Right. And then I would just write x86 64 generic, right? And then I would just init this. So what do we do? So architect says is Haswell. And we have the CC89 as tagged, but we fall back to CC80. And then let me see what is used in the end. Yeah, so maybe that's interesting here, right? So what we do actually use for the software, for the accelerators, you see this here, is that we use the generic builds. So where we build for let's say, let me see, there's available CUDA. So maybe can do this, I think this module show this one comes. Yes. So what you see is that the module file is actually on the x86 generic because that is what I wanted to have for this. And then it uses the CC80 build. So we can maybe try to run this.
So this should still run, but it will likely run a bit slower.
Yeah.
It's using. Maybe you can do a which GMX as well before you run something.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is now the one under generic and then the correct accelerator compute capability pass.
So generic here means, I think it still means AVX, but no AVX2 instruction.
So might be is a little bit smaller, shorter, but slower, but probably not much.
Yeah, and it even Gromax is smart enough to tell you. Yeah, it's actually SSE2, so no EVX even.
Yeah. Okay, so that's something maybe to play with. Yeah, if you have maybe even newer CPUs with that accelerator.
For benchmarking, this is interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit of an expert mode, I would say, because you maybe have a danger that you're in a kind of a load race. So you might get more things from the generic than you think. So a lot of things, anything
Yeah.
that's linked to that binary is being pulled in. So you're actually getting more software from generic than you might think. So,
Mhm.
for example, the
Yeah.
compiler runtime libraries are coming from the generic layer, not from your
Yeah.
compute layer.
Or your Python, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
can you quickly also show, this is a bit of a risk because I'm not sure what's going to happen. What if you make a typo in the override?
Okay. Okay, then I'll just
I think you'll get a decent error, but if not, we should fix that.
yeah, export. You mean with that example?
Yeah, this or any other override. Yeah. Just put Thomas there or something that doesn't make sense.
Mm. Okay. Okay, so no matching error. So what did I?
It falls back to auto detection. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing it does, it's probably trying to find if there's, so it constructs the path, the directory where it should find the software, and then it tests if that exists, right? So that's maybe one thing that does, and what else?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
this is confusing. You're telling it to do an override and flat out
yeah,
ignores you.
yeah. Mhm. Okay, somewhat works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would expect an error here. It's better to throw an error.
I think the behavior might be different depending on your method. So I think if you use the module, you might get an error here.
Mhm. Yeah,
Not sure,
I can
not
also.
100% sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's something at the end. 1020. Yeah. I like
uh,
42. That's a good number.
so now you're saying I should try this with the L mod, so right? At first, let's see what happens there. Oh, loaded successfully.
No, same bad behavior.
Check module paths.
uh, what do we have? Okay, we have Haswell. Fall back to that.
Yeah, it just falls
Uh,
back to
yeah. I think at some point it tests if these directory actually exists, and then yeah. Mhm. Okay. Yeah, but maybe
yeah.
some message. Okay, something is weird. Is maybe a good idea for the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm curious because I feel like I probably dealt this. Try the debug in it and see. It should tell you what it's doing then in terms of fallbacks and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, one thing, and that we can maybe ask for some input here, is I'm actually not too happy with the sourcing of scripts, because I don't think it's very user friendly. You have to remember where the scripts are to set up the easy environment. I think we can do a better job. I have a an idea for that, like an easy command. Yeah, you can define aliases and stuff, but you can actually do better. You can have an easy command that gives you options. Uh, you can say, I want to use easy version 2306 or 2506, or you can have options to do overrides, and it will know what to do based on that, even if it's just sourcing a script that it knows where to find. Yeah, this is helpful, but it doesn't give you any options. Thomas, it's all hard coded. So we started a small Python package for this, so you can do pip install easy, and it gives you an easy command line tool that could help you with this. So that's something I think we'll get back to and make this a bit more user friendly. I think most people now are familiar enough with pip install to install a simple, pure Python tool that doesn't rely on any third party dependencies. So just pure standard Python, nothing fancy. And then you can run easy init or perhaps even easy search, like searching across easy versions, which tools are there. And this could quickly grow into something that's quite interesting.
I think there's a caveat there though, right? So that's fine for the current shell. That's not fine for a Slurm job submission or something like that, right? It's
Well, the easy CLI tool. Because you have to pip install it first, or
no, because you need to communicate the shell, all the shell settings, right, through, and you're not using a module tool to do that, right? So I'm not sure you'd be able to communicate the shell environment through. Maybe you would. Maybe it would work. I'm not sure.
you could do the easy
Unless,
init in the job. Do the easy init in the job as well.
yeah, that doesn't mean it happens on every shell though. That's I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe it would work. Maybe it would work.
Anyway, and it would avoid that you have to remember the structure of the repository just to set up your environment. That's the main point.
Yeah.
An alternative to even bypass the pip install, since we are already at least with the native installation instruction installing a package, we could also make the command available through that.
Sorry, again, you could what?
Since for installing this early MFS configuration, we are already making people install an easy specific package during this installation, we could also make the command available through that.
Yes, but you'll have to be very careful that there's no Python version specific stuff in there, like no compiled Python files and stuff. You want it to work with any Python. But yeah, that could be possible to include it in there in the easy config RPM, you mean? Yeah.
It could be some, and it could just rely on the Python and the compat layer. But then, of course, I think you need something that detects what kind of system you're on. Is it x86 or ARM, right, or RISC?
Well, that's doable from Bash, but or any shell.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a chicken egg thing as well, because one of the first things that could happen is that easy is just not there. And the easy CLI thing would first check if easy is there. If not, it would point you to the documentation on making easy available or being dropped in an environment when it's available.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's something I'm interested in personally, because I think we can do better in terms of the initial steps to setting things up.
Okay.
And well, one other thing, because I see that Adam joined the call, we just added the Musica, the Austrian system. This happens all the time. The Austrian system to the list of systems where easy is available. I'm not sure, Adam, if you want to say something about this, how that's going up until now.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I was literally just today fixing something with the loading of the environment. So what the approach that we took, basically because we wanted to have like our own ASC module, what we did was we actually basically copied I think the content of the lmod init file. We copy that into a profile D script that gets sourced at login. So we're kind of running a slightly adapted version of what's kind of packet or what's distributed with Easy, with the obvious kind of problems that we're kind of hard coding versions and things like that. But for the time being, that's the way we're working. But yeah, it's probably, I mean, it's probably not ideal to what we're doing, but I don't see an alternative at the moment, like because we're basically trying to load kind of two modules by default and have them always loaded for the user when they log into the system, rather than kind of sourcing stuff like getting a user to sort of source stuff out of the easy tree, and sort of set up the environment after they log in. We're trying to do it automatically for them, which personally I'm not like. I prefer to have users kind of source stuff explicitly, and I think I've seen Alan in a previous demonstration talking about sort of the logic behind sort of at least sourcing the initial bash script, because then you get presented with the different versions of Easy that you can load, which I think is quite a nice idea. But yeah, our environment is, yeah, we had people on the team just wanted to have a default environment basically loaded as soon as the user logs in. So what we're doing is we're loading sort of a version of Easy plus a version of our own software stack. And yeah, only by kind of force purging them can you get back to like an environment where there's nothing loaded, basically.
Hmm. In your documentation, I saw something like that you have to run a command like easy or so, but I'm not sure if that's still needed
Yeah,
or the
it's
case.
possible that the document, yeah, I must look at the documentation. It's possible that it's slightly out of step with what the system's actually
Hmm.
doing.
But it was quite short and probably easy to remember.
That was just an alias probably for the source
Hmm.
command, or was it more than that, Adam? The easy thing.
Say that again, sorry.
The easy that's still mentioned in the documentation, was it just an alias for the source command, or
Yeah,
was it more than
I
that?
think it could have. Yeah, so sorry, the original system. Yeah, so they're basically, yeah, we're running. So I'm talking about the version on Musica. We're running. There's like there's a slightly older system, VSE5, which runs easy, and I think there's aliases set up on that. So in that documentation, it would there'd be an alias talking about basically just an alias in front of the source command for
Mhm.
the easy init script or whatever. But on Musica, we're doing it slightly differently. Like we're actually putting more or less I think if I can remember correctly, it's the more or less the content of the lmod in it. We're putting that into just in the etc profile D, a script in there that gets automatically sourced whenever we log in.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we're not asking the user to do any sourcing at all. And like we're another way, obviously, would be you just source the scripts from within there, but we figured the fact that we wanted to load multiple modules, we just basically take the content of the lmod init script and then modify it slightly so that our module was also loaded at the same time. And actually, I think what we're doing is we're loading our module and from there loading easy. If I Yeah, that's what I was looking at today. Now I don't like it could be completely harebrained what we're doing. Like we need to sort of have a proper look at it, but yeah,
But we're still exploring a bit, I guess. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
How,
Mm.
how do you like the idea of that CLI tool that gives people options and a proper dash dash help and all these things? You think that makes sense, or?
I mean, I like the idea of, I mean, yeah, like yeah, I mean, the idea of a pip install, like, well, a CLI tool that's pip installed, like, uh, I wouldn't, I'd be kind of like, I wouldn't be immediately on board with just the sound of that,
Okay.
um, like, yeah, again, like the idea of having I mean, the first thing that would come up for us would be how to load an additional default module into the environment, kind of a thing. Um, yeah, like it's yeah. I mean, it's just a tricky problem in terms of like how like how the system gets configured, and then what sort of a default environment is getting presented to the user. Like those are our like I think the kind of technical solutions that are, that Easy's presenting and even the CLI, like they're kind of viable solutions, assuming that you're kind of explicitly loading the environment. But um, yeah, what we're kind of struggling a bit with is loading stuff in a like kind of like having stuff being implicitly loaded in a way that's sort of understandable for the user to follow. I mean,
Yeah,
so I don't know the
maybe
CLI.
there's okay. The Alan has raised his hand, but maybe there's one thing interesting is that so there's this easy module sticky. So you could maybe do some of these modules to be sticky also if you want, right? Or
Yeah,
maybe
so
also use this
yeah,
module
so that's
family name.
Yeah. So at the moment, what we're doing is we're grouping a version of Easy together with a version of our software stack, and then we're making both of those sticky. Like
Mm.
so they're becoming the kind of the default modules, and they're sticky. So the only way to unload them is like to do a force purge or whatever.
Mm. Okay, Alan.
Yeah, basically just to say that you can make the easy module sticky already, and then you could set your own um, LMOD system default modules environment variable, right? So that on the initialization of LMOD, that you by default get in whatever order you want your system, your OS, what you provide, and then the EC module as well. So with two environment variables, you should get similar behavior. But then it depends. I don't know how you're initializing the LMOD. So it's a question of what you do before you initialize the LMOD. Whether you're getting it from us or you're getting it from your own installation, and what point that's initialized. But you should be able to do it with a couple of environment variables.
Yeah, the funny thing, like the problem that I was looking at today was it looked like so that lmod default whatever that variable is, the lmod default modules, like
Mm.
it's I think you're supposed to be able to pass a list into that variable, and give it a couple, basically, give it, I think, the easy default plus whatever other ones you want.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, no, I mean, I didn't have enough time to look into it today. As you can see, there's a toddler running around here, so it's kind of I'm actually on parental leave at the moment, so trying to get anything done is a bit of a struggle at the moment. But yeah, I didn't get that working today. That was, I think, one of my colleagues modified the setup recently to try and use that setup where instead of like basically loading it from so I think what the working solution that we had was we were loading it from like having our module sort of being the default and then loading easy as part of that. So saying that it's always tied to a specific easy version. So loading that from within the module, as we call it. But we didn't
Mhm.
get the list. Yeah. So that LMOD default modules list didn't seem to immediately work there when we tried it recently for whatever reason. I need to look at it again and just see what was going on.
Have you received any feedback already, Adam, from users on Musica in terms of usage of Easy itself?
A little bit so I guess, yeah, I mean, probably the main thing to point out is like, so the closed test phase that we had, sort of July, August, that was, I mean, it was about 10 or 20 like really power users. So people that would just, I mean, basically come in and be very comfortable kind of bootstrapping their own software, and some of them were using Easy a bit. Like they weren't inclined to like, as far as yeah, like it's kind of not that inclined to look at the documentation. They were quite positive about it, generally speaking. Like when they did look, like the ones that did, like they were quite happy to use it and they thought it was, a usable setup. There was some feedback, I think I posted in Slack about hierarchical module presentation and things like that. Yeah, I think the real test is going to come, I think I think the 17th we're going into the open test phase, which will have a lot more users on it. So we'll start then to get a lot more feedback, I think. Yeah, like at the moment so the system was, so basically the whole thing was located in Vienna, over the summer. And so they've now split up the system and they've set up the other two sites in Linz and Innsbruck. So that's kind of what we're doing. What we're doing at the moment is just basically trying to reconfigure the system, to work as a kind of a distributed, basically a distributed system over the three sites. So it's, at the moment, there's no users on it at all. Like it's been closed basically to users for the last couple of weeks. So from the 17th again, we'll be starting the open test phase, and then I think by the end of the year, the idea is to have it kind of running, like kind of open like for standard use or whatever. Like nobody really commented on the no, yeah, we didn't get any comments on the default loading. Like there was just some things about like basically hierarchical module presentation and then like having multiple versions of software, or multiple versions of modules available wasn't always clear. And the other thing was probably the tool chains were a bit like how loading different tool chains or software that expects different tool chains would affects the environment. Yeah, but I think that change, I think there was a change that came in over the summer at some point where there's now, I think, an explicit warning about kind of deviating away from the sort of, there's an explicit default tool chain for each easy release now, as far as I can remember. Like there's uh,
Well, we stick to tool chains for a particular Easy version. So if for 2306 we have 20 2022B, 23A, and 23B as toolchains. For the next version of EESSI 2506, we're sticking to 24A and 25A. We may add 25B to that, but we're not going to start mixing toolchains across EESSI versions. So there's a nice split there. And we'll probably keep that up going forward.
Okay.
2 or 3 toolchains per EESSI version and no same toolchain across EESSI versions. That's sort of the plan currently. There was actually a question in the EESSI support portal as well on this, on the EESSI roadmap in general, where we sort of outlined that general idea of how we'll organize things in terms of versions and toolchains. But yeah, and any feedback that you hear from users, either power users or novice users, is always interesting. And yeah, these calls are a good way to informally share that feedback. But if you want to do something more formal, like a support issue, or well, I guess Slack is also informal. But anyway, you feel fit to sharing feedback is always good. Yeah, you can definitely improve left and right. And yeah, it's only when actual users actively use it and see what they hit in terms of problems or questions, that's when we get really good feedback, of course, and actionable feedback.
Okay. Other questions? Comments?
Do we have a topic for next week already, Thomas?
Yes, next week we start a new series, building software on top of EESSI.
That's likely going to be more than one session, I imagine. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, then I would say I stop the recording.